Okay. Well, good afternoon. Hello. I'd like to welcome you to the concert this afternoon, and a special welcome to John Dixon and his wife, Karen. And before we start this afternoon, I want to invite Lisa to come up and tell you a little bit about some things that are coming up.
Welcome, everybody. We're so happy you're here this afternoon. I'm Lisa Elliott. I'm the music director here, in case you don't know me. And just really quickly, I want to let you know that there's a new game in town. That's our Grace Academy of Music Education. There's a flyer on the back of your program. It's an after-school music school that we are running here, and we have several after-school activities. We've got private music lessons. We've got our game choir for ages 7 to 12, and I especially want to just draw your attention to our new group piano classes. These are for beginners ages 7 to 11. It's only $20 for 4 classes. That's all 4 classes, and it includes the music book. Our next class starts March 3rd. It's Thursdays, 5:15 to 6 p.m. And you can either see me after the program or go to game-music.org to register. And we're limited to 8 students. We have a piano lab, essentially, where we've got a bunch of keyboards all around in a circle. And I go around and make sure they're doing all their things correctly. It's a lot of fun, and it's a great way for parents to give music lessons a try without going into a lot of expense. And if they want to continue, we can, of course, continue the courses. But it's a wonderful introduction. So I hope if you know kids or grandkids or neighbors that you will let them know about this opportunity. Thanks very much.
And I would like to take a minute to mention that on July 3rd, which is a Sunday, on the holiday weekend, I'm going to have a patriotic concert here, and I'm already definitely at work on planning this and hope that you would be able to come. I'm also at this concert. I've already planned this. John is sharing 2 of his arrangements that I'm going to play, so that's going to be fun. At the end of the concert, we are going to have a free will offering, and this money will go to John to help defray costs for flying here from Virginia. And if you were writing a check, please make it directly to John Dixon. So you'll see in the program that John has been an organist at Providence Presbyterian Church in Virginia Beach for more than 20 years. And the amazing thing is he has over 850 compositions to his credit. And I've played a number of these here in church for preludes and postludes. What I really am impressed about is that he is the executive director of the Academy of Music at Norfolk, Virginia, where they have about 300 students are having music education. So a program like Lisa is working on, so it's really neat. And then, holy cow, there's a little bug. I should have known this, but I am so impressed that John is the treasurer for the entire American Guild of Organists. And I was just treasurer of our local chapter, and I was overwhelmed with that. And he's got the entire program. So he has such a varied background. And with that, I would like to introduce John Dixon.
Well, thank you very much. My wife Karen and I came to Las Vegas for some fun, and apparently for me, fun is playing an organ recital. And thank you so much for coming to listen to the music that I've been writing over the last 30 years. I have a project to share my music in person in all 50 states. So I'm checking off Nevada today, and for those of you who are interested, it is state number 20. And I always get asked, well, how are you going to play in Hawaii and Alaska? Well, I haven't figured out Hawaii yet, but we've played in Alaska. So anyway, the program, this is unlike any organ recital you've ever heard, I'm sure, because I'm playing entirely my own compositions. In fact, if you look on your program, you'll see there are some little reference numbers beside each piece. These are my catalog numbers. And yes, I started at number 1 back in 1990. So I've written these 850-some pieces over the last 30 years. And so you can get an idea when you see the catalog number, because they were chronological, you can get an idea of when I wrote the pieces. So I've been writing pieces for lots of reasons. I'm going to be telling you about that. So what I'm going to do is play little groups of pieces, and you might like to hold your applause until the end of a group. I mean, you can applaud whenever you like. Everybody likes applause, but my suggestion is you wait and applaud between the sections, and then I'll come and tell you what's coming up next. And maybe I should have brought my program with me so I know what to tell you is coming up. No, it's okay. I think I can remember. So that piece, The Trumpet Entrada, was a piece that I wrote for a friend of mine at a church in Florida, but I also wrote it to give away to the organists, the members of the American Guild of Organists. If there are organists here today, there's some free music for you to take home, including that piece. So you can just pick up a copy of the music for that piece, take it home and learn to play it. And there are most of the pieces in the next section, I also have copies to give away. At the end, there's one fairly new suite that you can give me your email address and I'll send you the music. The whole point is to share the music. I have some published collections and they're available at a discounted price. I buy them from the publisher and bring them along. So there's a lot of music. Basically, if you hear anything on today's program and you want to be able to play it, have a word with me and we'll make sure that you get the music, because there's nothing that drives me crazier than going to an organ recital and hearing this great piece of music and thinking, oh, I'd like to play that, and then I can't find the music, and that happens all too often. Okay, so the next section is really pieces that were written for the American Guild of Organists. Well, maybe the first piece, my Hornpipe in D, was written as a wedding recessional for a young lady. I had watched her grow up within our church, and she got engaged to a Navy guy, and I was playing for their wedding. And so since it was a Navy theme, I wrote the Hornpipe for her recessional. And that piece I shared it at the Boston Convention in 2014. That piece has been heard around the world, and I get emails for it all the time, and you can go on YouTube and listen to recordings, so it's very gratifying. So that piece, if I have a greatest hit, I think that's probably it. So, I mean, yes, greatest hits in the organ world, you know, we don't brag about those. After that, I'm going to play a piece called Solemn Melody, which was written originally for a friend of mine who commissioned me to write some music for Bruton Parish Church in Williamsburg, a very famous church. And then he died of cancer, and in a couple of days, I wrote this piece for his memorial service. And again, I shared it with a national convention, and so this piece has been used by many organists around the country. And then the reason I put them on my program is because people send me feedback, and I understand that somehow, for some reason, I've written music that seems to resonate with people, and so I hope you find the same for you today. So then I'm going to play a piece with the title of American Pastoral, and you're going to know that melody because it's also the melody in the final piece in this little section, America the Beautiful. So this quiet arrangement was written this summer for the executive director of the American Guild of Organists. I just spent 2 hours having a phone conversation with him, and he said, "John, I'm so sorry to take all your time." And I said, "Well, I'm at my father-in-law's in Pittsburgh, and I'm looking out over some hills at an old barn, and the sun is shining, and the birds are singing, and I'm really okay talking to you for 2 hours." He said, "Oh, that sounds great. You should really write an American pastoral." And I said, "Well, okay, I'll write an American pastoral." And so you're going to hear that today. And then the postlude on America the Beautiful. And there's a section there, I played this a lot at my church. The beginning is sort of loud and bombastic, and then you're going to hear the melody. And often I can hear the congregation just sort of singing the melody quietly under their breath. So if you are so inspired and want to sing a little bit of America the Beautiful, go ahead, because you will not be the first. So that's the section that's coming up, and then I'll come back and talk a bit more. I have to tell you that my wife, Karen, she sort of gives me the get on with the music kind of sign, and I think I'm about to get that, so I'm going back to the organ right now. Thank you. So I have a little section of 3 pieces here, written for different reasons. I'm substituting at a local church for a funeral, and I called the office to ask if the family wanted any special music. You know, sometimes we'll be asked to play Jesu Joy of Man's Desiring or something like that. I see some organists here just nodding their heads. And the church secretary said, yes, they'd like, when the family comes in, they'd like, I bid you good night. I said, oh, okay, I don't think I know I bid you good night. And the church secretary said, oh, well, they sing it at funerals in the Bahamas. And then that was the end of the conversation, because at that point, she had figured out that it was now my problem and not hers. So I started doing some research. I found an arrangement done by an Appalachian sort of hillbilly choir that did about 26 verses at 100 miles an hour with lots of foot stomping and clapping. And I thought, I don't think that's really going to do the job for a funeral. And then, thanks to the wonders of YouTube, I found a recording by a grizzly old gentleman with sort of long white hair poking out from under a hat, and he had this beaten-up guitar, and he sang a very simple 2 verses of I Bid You Good Night, and it really grabbed me. The words, which are not, of course, involved in this concert, are very very powerful, very simple and very powerful. And the idea, it's somebody saying goodbye to you, my brother, or goodbye to you, my sister. And even though I love you, Jesus loves you more, so I bid you good night. And it was just, I suddenly thought, oh, this is really good. I'm glad I've been asked to play this. So I made an arrangement, and it's very simple. It's just the melody. And I started playing it on my recitals, because I think that's what music's all about. It's about finding wonderful music in strange places and then sharing it with other people. So that's the story behind I Bid You Good Night. And then the second piece, L'Adieu, is really a piece for our times. You know, we have, L'Adieu is the French word for goodbye, and we have all lost people in the last 2 years without being able to say goodbye properly. I mean, how often have you read an obituary where it says, you know, services will be held at a later time, and then 2 years down the road, nobody really wants to go back and do a service for someone who's passed on. And Karen and I had a very dear friend in England who died of cancer, and there was no way that we could go to say our goodbyes. So I wrote this piece, and as I play it, I would ask you to think about people that you have not been able to say goodbye to. And then in a more sort of optimistic vein, the last piece, Capriccio, which means caprice, was written for a friend at church who has been very, very busy keeping us all safe during COVID. Whatever needed to be done, he was there doing it with great enthusiasm. And so, you know, organists are at church at very strange times, but he would often be there. And so I wrote a piece so that I could play it for him while he was running around doing lots of things. So that gives you an idea of all the different reasons that go into writing pieces. And so here comes my potpourri section. Thank you. One of the joys of music is making music with other people, and I've written some piano organ duets, and I have some colleagues who are going to help me present two of those to you right now. So these are based on early American hymns. I have a book of piano organ duets featuring half a dozen of our favorite early American hymns. And Ken Wilson's going to come and play the piano for Simple Gifts while I play the organ. And then I'm going to switch to the piano, and David Dorway is going to play the organ part, all being well, right? So, Ken, thanks for... Now, you see, Ken comes up here with a tablet and puts it on the piano, which really embarrasses me, because if you look up there, you'll see I've got all my music taped together, and I hate turning pages. So I kind of, since I'm writing my own music, I sort of squish it all in so that I can put it up there. And then what happens is that I travel around and people say to me, well, you know, John, why don't you just sit at the piano and play some of your music for us? And I said, well, I can't do that because I don't have any of the sheet music. And then they look at me and say, don't you understand? You wrote this music, so why can't you just play it? And memorizing music requires a very active part of the brain called the hippocampus. And apparently, I don't have a hippocampus, because I cannot, for the life of me, play my own music from memory. But actually, I think we all have to understand how our brains work. And when I'm working on a piece of music, it sort of lives in the front part of my brain, and I can remember all the bits and pieces, and then I write stuff down in a sketchbook, and then I sit at the computer and put it into a notation program. And then the funny thing is that when I finished it and I'm ready to go on to the next piece of music, it's just like everything gets wiped out. And I think that's because I need room for the next project. So that's my justification for not being able to remember how to play my own music. And then Ken comes up here with his tablet and just says, well, you know, this is how we do it these days, John. But you put me to shame, Ken. But anyway, let's play the duet anyway. all that good stuff. This second piece is Morning Song, which we played this morning. And then I'm going to ask David to stay up here, not go running off, because I need some help for the next section. Let me just set up my music, and we'll play Morning Song. Right, I'm going to ask David to stay up here a moment. I just need to go and get my program. Actually, I would like to give thanks to David and his wife Barbara for their wonderful hospitality. Karen and I have been having just a great time here. I think you can tell from this program. And it was truly a pleasure to sing in the church choir this morning. Thank you for the invitation, Lisa. And my goodness, there are not many church choirs that can or should be trying to play the How Lovely by Brahms. I mean, that's just quite an achievement. Now, being in Las Vegas, this might be the first time this has ever been done in an organ recital anywhere, but I thought I'd like to introduce an element of chance into what I'm playing for you, as if this is, as if this is not exciting enough. I just need to spice it up. So what I decided to do was, I'm going to ask David to toss a coin, and depending on whether it's heads or tails, I'm going to play either the Prelude on Holy Manna or the Prelude on Foundation. Now, David, I have here a 7-sided 50p piece from Britain and a £2 coin, and they both have the Queen's image on them. That's the heads. Which one would you like to flip?
Oh, either one.
You choose.
Oh, this looks cool.
Okay, so we're going with the £2 coin. So heads, and you get Holy Manna. Tails, you get Prelude on Foundation. Off you go. No pressure, no pressure.
Yeah.
It's tails, it's tails. All right. So you're going to get the Prelude on Foundation, which, unfortunately for you, means extra work. So let me explain why I wrote this piece. It was during COVID, and it was very lonely in my church because there were just a few people and we were live streaming. And eventually we got a few people back, and we were all wearing masks, and there were just no hymns in the service. And hymn texts are very important to musicians. And so I thought, how can I get a hymn text back into the service? So I developed this little technique for my prelude, that I would choose a hymn, and we would put the text in the bulletin, and then I'd write a prelude that was a little bit different, but it was completely singable, so that the congregation, even though they didn't have hymnals, they could sort of at least hum into their masks. And so now I want you to pull out the hymnal in the pews and turn to hymn 480, and I think Lisa's going to need the people in the front row are going to need this, because I'm going to need some audience participation, because it just would not work for me to play this piece and which is, why not make life totally miserable? It's just...
I want Shenandoah.
Right, all right. Okay.
Oh, wow. Oh, dear. 14.
14. Okay. Do you want to roll them again?
Is that
Look, see,
is that legal?
You can't go to the Strip and do this, but you can do that here. I actually heard people saying that they'd like to hear the trio and Shenandoah. Was that what I was hearing?
Yes.
All right, I'll play that. So, you see, that's the beauty of making up my own rules. I can change them. And actually, I think you're going to have more fun listening to the trio on Shenandoah than to see me sweating at the console doing some improvisation, because the people who do that are really skilled, and they have my respect, I'll tell you that much. Okay, so we're going to do the Prelude on Foundation, and I'm going to ask you to sing, so I'll sort of turn my head. There's a very short introduction. I think you'll all be able to figure out when to sing, and just sing it with gusto, and let's enjoy that, and then I'll play the trio on Shenandoah. And then after that, I'll play two pieces, and this will be, both of these, it's a world premiere of both pieces. The first actually is written for and dedicated to David, so that's my way of saying thank you for hosting this visit and for making it all possible. And then the second piece is, well, I grew up knowing it as God Save the Queen, and then I moved over here, and everybody here calls it My Country 'Tis of Thee. So I was completely confused. And there's an English guy in our church who is similarly confused, so I dedicated that to him. So we have the prelude of the the premiere of the chorale prelude on King of Glory, King of Peace. This is a hymn tune that you might recognize. It has a Welsh name, Gwalchmai is the name of the tune. It's not in this hymnal. I did check, which is probably why I forgot the right number for foundation. But you might recognize that, and I grew up singing King of Glory, King of Peace to this tune. And it's arranged like a chorale prelude, which means that there's some sort of accompaniment that takes the stage, and then the hymn tune comes in certain sections. So I think that's all you need to know about our games of chance here, and I guess all I can say is what plays in Vegas stays in Vegas, right? Are we all agreed on that? So, okay. And of course, now I have to figure out which music I need in front of me. Right, so it's about 4 measures of introduction. Here we go. And we go. Well, thank you. So I'm running a little bit longer than I thought I might. Too much talking as usual. Anyway, it's amazing. We're down to the last little section. This is a piece that was written 1 year ago. I had given a commission to the American Guild of Organists for an online auction. And the problem with giving a commission to an auction is that if somebody wins it, the poor donor then has to write some music. And this commission was won by a man named Joe Manley of Bloomington, Indiana. And he wasn't even an organist and wasn't even an AGO member, but he'd come across the auction and had won it. And I called him and I said, well, what would you like me to do? And he said, well, I want to give this to my father for a Christmas gift. Now, if you can remember back to December of 2020, what a miserable time that was, right? We weren't able to go and visit our families and be with them at Christmas. And I said, well, where does your father live? Oh, he lives in Sacramento. So Joe's in Bloomington and Dad's in Sacramento. Not much chance they're going to get together. So I said, well, let's have some fun with this. So I took one of my published books of music, which conveniently I can mention will be available after this recital. And I wrote in the front, and the dad's name is Grady. And I wrote, Dear Grady, you might wonder why your son is giving you a book of organ music for Christmas, because Grady is the pastor of traditional worship at his church, and he sings in the choir, but he does not play the organ. So, dear Grady, you might wonder why Joe's giving you organ music for Christmas. Well, I'm going to write some music for you, so please get in touch after Christmas and we'll decide what to do. So I sent that to Joe, who wrapped it up, and of course it went off to Sacramento with all the other packages. Christmas morning, Grady opens this package and is looking at a book of organ music, thinking that his son has finally lost his marbles, and then he opens it and reads the message, and he got very, very excited. So we had a great chat in January, and he said, I've always liked the hymn tune Leone, which you might know, it's the God of Abraham praise. Bum, 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 bum. I apologize for singing. I'm here to play, not to sing, but I think you know that tune. So I made a suite of variations on Leone, and it's really been quite successful. I've shared it with AGO members, so I think maybe Ken might have it. I don't know if you have it yet. If anybody who wants it will have a sign-up sheet and put your email address, and I can send it to you, even if you want to give it to a friend or something like that. Because Grady really embraced the idea of sharing this piece as widely as possible. And I was able to go to Sacramento last November, and I played it for his congregation, and I made them sing How Firm a Foundation as well, just so you know. So, and they had a great time too. I really hope you enjoyed singing that. Let me know, because I might sort of make that part of my programs in the future. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up with the variations on the hymn tune Leone, and then I'm going to be around to talk to anybody. We have free music for organists. We have some of my published collections if you'd like to purchase those. Karen is my tech department. She has one of those little square thingies. So anyway, we should be able to work it all out at the end. So here we go with the variations on the hymn tune Leone.
Well, I certainly want to thank John for playing, and for Ken for being willing to play a duet, and Cindy for our programs, and Jason for his help with the soundboard and the video. And we have some chocolate chip cookies for you on the way out. I hope that by the time we have our concert in July, we can go back to real cookies that have been made by people and brought in and touched by human hands. And there's also an interesting and nice assortment of music back there. And so take time to meet John and take a look at the music. Thank you for coming.